She got paid by Coachella, a number that most human beings will never see in their lifetime, a number that represents one of the most prestigious and lucrative performance slots in the entire global music festival industry. A number that artists spend years, sometimes entire careers, working toward with no guarantee they ever get there. Karol G got that number, and then she spent 3 times that amount making the show happen. 3 times more than she was paid. Let that math sit in the room for a second, because it should feel slightly insane. It should feel like a business decision that no financial advisor on earth would sign off on. It should feel like the kind of move that gets quietly whispered about in industry circles as either the most reckless thing an artist has done with their money this year or the most brilliant. And here is the twist that nobody is framing correctly. It might be both. And understanding which one it actually is and why the answer to that question tells you everything about where Karol G is positioning herself in the global music landscape right now is exactly what this video is about. Do not move. This gets deep fast. For anyone who needs the context, and everyone deserves the full context before the numbers are discussed, Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival is not just a music festival. It is the festival, the benchmark, the cultural event that the global music industry uses as a measuring stick for artistic relevance, commercial appeal, and the kind of crossover cultural presence that separates artists who are successful from artists who are iconic. A Coachella headlining or major slot is not offered to artists because they are popular in a specific region or doing well on a specific chart. It is offered to artists whose name, whose brand, whose audience, and whose cultural moment are considered significant enough to anchor a weekend that will be watched, live-streamed, clipped, analyzed, written about by tens of millions of people globally. Karol G got that slot. La Bichota, the Colombian artist who has built one of the most dedicated and commercially powerful fan bases in Latin music, the woman whose Mañana Será Bonito era turned a deeply personal album into a global phenomenon that crossed language barriers, demographic assumptions, and every ceiling that the industry had quietly decided existed for female Latin artists operating at this scale. She earned that Coachella moment through years of work, consistency, and an artistic authenticity that resonated with audiences in ways that no marketing campaign could manufacture. And then she walked into that moment and decided that what Coachella was paying her was not enough to build the show she intended to deliver. So she covered the difference herself. Coachella performance fees are not publicly disclosed in specific detail, but the range for major acts, headliners, and top-tier performers is widely reported and understood within the industry to reach into the millions of dollars. Whatever Karol G's specific fee was, and it was significant, she invested nearly 3 times that amount into the production of her set. 3 times. That means the stage design, the visual production, the choreography, the technical infrastructure, the lighting systems, the creative team, the rehearsal facilities, the logistics of assembling and executing a show at that scale, all of it combined cost her approximately $3 for every $1 Coachella put in her account. The 3-week rehearsal period alone, held in Las Vegas, where every detail of the performance was refined with the kind of obsessive precision that separates a concert from a production, represents a level of preparation investment that most artists simply do not make. Rehearsal facilities cost money. The full creative team that was working behind the scenes for months before a single audience member walked through the Coachella gates cost money. Every decision, every revision, every technical element that made the show look the way it looked on that stage and across every live stream feed globally cost money. Her money, above and beyond what she earned. And she did it anyway. Karol G did not hide the financial reality of this decision. She explained it directly. The goal, in her own words, was to deliver the best for more than 100,000 people in attendance and for tens of millions watching online. Read that statement carefully, not casually, carefully. She did not say the goal was to deliver a great performance. She did not say the goal was to fulfill her contractual obligations to the festival or to give the audience what they paid for. She said the goal was to deliver the best, for 100,000 people in person, for tens of millions watching on screens. That is not a performance objective. That is a legacy objective. There is a meaningful difference between an artist who performs at Coachella and an artist who treats Coachella as a vehicle for something larger than a single night's entertainment. The first kind of artist shows up, delivers a professional set, collects the fee, and moves on to the next date on the tour. The second kind of artist looks at the 100,000 people in that field and the tens of millions watching globally and asks a completely different question. Not what can I deliver tonight, but what will they still be talking about in 5 years? Karol G asked the second question, and she paid, literally out of her own earnings, to answer it the way she wanted to. Stop, right here, because the next section of this video is the part that most coverage of this story never reaches, the part that reframes the entire financial decision as something more strategic, more calculated, and more interesting than the feel-good narrative of an artist who loves her fans so much she spent extra money on the show. That narrative is true, but it is not the whole story. And this channel, Rap Deepest Secrets, exists specifically to find the part that is not in the headline and bring it to this community before it becomes obvious everywhere else. Subscribe right now, hit the button, turn on the bell, because the angle that is coming in the next few minutes is the one that will change how you think about every major artist investment decision you see reported from this point forward. Subscribe, then stay. The twist is right around the corner. Here is what the feel-good coverage of this story is missing. Karol G spent 3 times her Coachella fee on a show that was simultaneously broadcast to tens of millions of people online. Tens of millions, not thousands, not the 100,000 who were physically present in the desert. Tens of millions of people who watched through screens, through live streams, through social media clips, through the kind of fragmented but massive digital audience that a Coachella performance generates in the modern media environment. Now, do the math differently. If the Coachella performance fee compensates for the 100,000 people in attendance, the physical audience, the ticket revenue, the festival economics, then the investment she made above that fee was not for the people in the field, it was for the tens of millions watching online. She essentially funded, from her own earnings, a global broadcast production, a visual spectacle designed to look extraordinary not just from the front row of a music festival, but through a camera lens, on a phone screen, on a television, on any device that a human being might use to watch a performance they could not attend in person. That is not a concert investment. That is a content investment, a brand investment, measured not in the revenue of a single night, but in the reach, the impression, and the cultural positioning of her name across a global audience that Coachella's broadcast infrastructure delivered to her essentially for free. She paid 3 times the fee. The return was not measured in ticket sales. It was measured in the tens of millions of people who watched and will keep watching the clips, the highlights, the moments from that performance for months and years after the festival ended. That is not reckless spending. That is one of the most calculated investments in personal brand infrastructure that the music industry has seen in recent memory. The traditional model of concert economics is straightforward. An artist is paid a fee for a performance. The fee is negotiated based on the artist's draw, how many tickets they can sell, how much revenue their presence generates for the venue or festival. The artist delivers the performance, collects the fee, and the transaction is complete. Karol G just demonstrated that this model is insufficient for artists operating at a certain level of cultural ambition. Because in 2025, the audience at a major performance is never just the physical audience. It is the global digital audience that amplifies, shares, discusses, and keeps engaging with the performance long after the night ends. And that digital audience, which in Karol G's case numbered in the tens of millions, is not adequately captured in a fee calculated around physical attendance. If you are an artist who understands that distinction, the financial logic of investing above your fee becomes clear. The Coachella fee covers the physical moment. The investment above the fee covers the global moment. And the global moment has a reach, a shelf life, and a brand impact that dwarfs what happens in any single field in the California desert on a weekend in April. Karol G made a show that looked extraordinary at festival scale and at broadcast scale simultaneously. That required more money than the festival was paying, so she paid it herself. And in doing so, she turned a Coachella performance into a global brand activation that no marketing budget could have replicated with the same authenticity, the same cultural weight, or the same emotional impact as a live performance delivered at that level. Here is the part that lands differently once everything else has been established. Karol G said the goal was to deliver the best for the people in attendance and for the tens of millions watching online. She framed it as being for the audience, and that framing is genuine. There is no reason to doubt that her love for her fans and her commitment to giving them the best possible experience was real and primary. But here is what is also true simultaneously. The best possible show for 100,000 people in a field and tens of millions watching online is also the best possible advertisement for Karol G that has ever been produced. It is a demonstration of her artistry, her scale, her professionalism, and her investment in excellence that runs for the length of her entire set and is watched by an audience that a traditional advertising campaign could never reach with the same emotional resonance. She spent money to give her audience the best. The result of giving her audience the best was a piece of content, a performance, a moment, a cultural event that positions her name at a level of artistic seriousness and commercial ambition that no press release, no streaming milestone announcement, and no award nomination communicates as powerfully as the visual of a woman who invested 3 times her fee into making something extraordinary. The story became the marketing, the investment became the advertisement, the sacrifice became the statement. And now the whole world knows that Karol G does not perform at Coachella, she produces it. Karol G received a significant fee for her Coachella performance. She spent 3 times that amount making the show happen. She rehearsed for months, refined every detail over 3 weeks in Las Vegas, assembled a full creative team, and delivered a production designed to be the best experience possible for 100,000 people in person and tens of millions watching globally. The mainstream coverage called it a beautiful sacrifice for her fans. The real story is that it was one of the most strategically intelligent investments in personal brand infrastructure that the music industry has seen in years, disguised as generosity, powered by artistry, and executed with a precision that most artists at any level never reach. Subscribe to Rap Deepest Secrets right now. This is the channel that finds the strategy inside the sacrifice and the calculation inside the gesture. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment. Do you think Karol G made a smart business decision, or was this purely about love for her audience? Because this community does not do surface-level answers. She lost money on paper, she gained something that money cannot buy. And she planned it that way from the beginning.